I don't know what practice it was. I don't think we got better today, but a lot of work. Did a lot of 2-minute drill situations at the end of the game. Try to make our guys aware of the down and distance and the time on the clock. And, that's always pretty ugly the first time we do it, and it was pretty ugly. But guys are working hard, and we got a few practices left to get some stuff taught and to do a lot of evaluation.
So, overview of your defense. Obviously, a major rebuild.
Yeah,
you get any
never
opinion
played.
yet?
How's that?
You got any opinion of what you have?
Yeah,
there yet?
I like the group. I like Coach Alley's staff and how they're working, but ain't none of them ever played. So, there's so many unknowns with that. But they'll play hard. But there's probably still some concerns at certain positions, depth-wise, and all that. But it's all new. Everything they're doing is all new. So they got a lot of work to do. But like I said, there's not a guy over there that's returning that played here. There's some of the transfers that played at their previous schools. So you get some experience with that. But they're getting a little better, I think, every day.
So do you have an idea in your mind, even if you don't want to share it with us, of what you have to go and still fill portal-wise?
Yeah, we need to get some O-line and D-linemen. We need to get some wideouts, a running back. Probably need to get some linebackers, a corner, safety, and a couple D-linemen.
Pretty much whole team.
Kickers. I made sure the kicker today he had been pretty good. Today wasn't the best day, so we probably need a kicker maybe to compete too. And then like what the quarterbacks are at, we got some competition there. But the other ones, we'll be in the portal.
Long snapper? You got a long snapper?
Those long snappers been good. They thanks for that. Well, no, that's a positive. Long snapper and got a quarterbacks.
You mentioned wide receiver at the beginning of spring was a position you already figured you'd have to go in the portal.
Yeah.
What do you now think? 'Cause this is
We just don't have it. For our system a little bit, we just don't have enough bodies. We want somebody obviously who can be that one-on-one guy that you can rely on, and our guys are getting better, getting some confidence in them, but we just don't. We literally don't have enough bodies to run the way we want to run it. So, we're looking at some guys, and we'll fix that. And again, I got to remind myself we got to be at 105, which that's just 20 guys less, but it still is 20 guys less. That was probably 3 of those 20 would have been wideouts.
What about playmakers? Is that showing up at all?
I don't know, not really. No. I think it'll come a little bit as they get more confidence. It's funny how everybody says, "Oh, he's a playmaker." Sometimes the play was just anybody could have made that play, and then sometimes it was like, "Oh, that guy made 2 guys miss and jumped over a third one," and did the Saquon Barkley jump up backwards and over? That's a play, right? But I don't usually talk about getting playmakers. I want guys just to be able to run the system and be able to run it better than other people would run it if they were in. If that makes sense.
Rich. I'm Spencer Ripchick. I'm new.
Okay. Good to see you, Spencer. Who you work with? You got all these fine media folks. Who are you with? Are you independent or
No, I'm with the
TikTok?
Dominion Post.
Huh?
I'm with the Dominion Post.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're booting you out and taking a new one in.
I'm actually going back to my actual job.
Big job, big shoes to fill.
You missed the TikTok pressers.
I saw it everywhere, though.
That's it.
So, what do you think of potential? You say you want to adopt a pro model one day, or it's getting closer to a pro model. What do you think of the potential of potentially playing another FBS school in the spring game instead of playing?
I saw where Coach Prime brought that up, and I don't blame him. Shoot, that's a way to, if you're going to have one, make a little money. And I don't think they would do it. You get so competitive, I don't know if coaches would want to have it as an actual game that counts, and you got to probably have some parameters where we're going to play everybody and kind of more of a scrimmage type of situation. But I think the fans would enjoy it. I'm not really opposed to it. I just don't know if you would still like I agree with Coach Rule. You don't want to show somebody out there and then he does really good in that day, and then somebody poaches him and pays him after thing. I think if they change the portal thing, I would be more agreeable to, scrimmage against somebody. I love the model of, especially with roster reduced down, to be able to practice against somebody else for a couple days like the NFL does. Like I said, I've told you, the NFL's got it figured out, right? They've been the most successful pro organization for years. Why wouldn't we follow that? Because we're still student athletes, right? But let's not kid ourselves. They are professional student athletes. So let's adopt more of the NFL model to get some sanity into college athletics. That's my opinion. Now, you guys may think otherwise, and there's other good opinions, but that's mine. The genie's not getting out of the bottle. So I thought we were going to start paying them, right? And then next year not paying them. So that's already out there, which is fine. I think it's great that our guys can earn some money and get a degree. Like I said, finish college with a degree and some money in the bank. That's great. But we've got to be able to put some sanity into the way it's organized.
You mentioned all your needs. Defensive back's a spot. You did bring in some experience in the scheme, at least. How have things progressed there?
Yeah, I thought they played pretty well today. I think they're getting a little better. At the beginning of spring, it was not as good as it needed to be, but it's the last couple practices have been better. And again, a little bit that's tempered because we've got to get some more guys to challenge them a little bit. And we've doing a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of evaluation. But I think they've gotten better, but there's still some concerns there, especially with depth.
How crucial has your Jacksonville State transfers been in kind of helping with their experience in your system? Because like Reed was saying, Peric was saying Tuesday, it's like, if I get confused, I can just text one of them and say, hey, what does this mean? Oh, this means this. Oh, okay. They're almost like translators for kind of helping everybody else get used to it.
Yeah, I think that's always the biggest benefit if guys follow a coach, is that they kind of know the terminology more than anything else. Like every coach, a lot of the techniques and stuff are pretty similar, whether you go from one coach to another coach in football. But the terminology is going to be different. The schemes, the way they're called, are going to be different. So that helps. And then they're probably maybe they've never been yelled at, and so maybe if I yell at them, the guys from Jack State, every one of those has been yelled at, and probably quite a bit. Let's see, Cam, yeah, Bowie, yeah, a lot, yelled a lot. So KK when he was there, Bosley, even Jacob Barrick. I mean, every one of them's got yelled at quite a bit. Probably Cam and Bowie more than the rest of them. But that part of it.
That yelling's almost like, oh, you got to listen to this yelling. Like it's more
No,
a different
hell, they better
yelling.
listen to all of it. They're not selective. I'm not selective when I'm. They better not be selective. Like, oh, okay, that's important. That's the problem. I mean, they better not be choosing what they listen to. They got to listen to all of it. They're going to play and we're going to coach. I just had to do that same speech, like, play. But yeah, and I don't mind you guys asking the players about the difference if they transfer. I think that's a natural. I mean, you guys do a good job of bringing it up, but sometimes it's kind of. It puts those guys in a kind of a tough spot, if you want them to compare programs or systems or what it's like here, what it's like there. The guys are usually wanting to be positive no matter where they're at. But I told them today, there's a lot of things we got to work on, a lot of things we get better at, but the thing that's non-negotiable was playing hard and playing tough. You cannot be soft and lazy. I don't want one person to buy a season ticket to a Mountaineer game and sit in those stands and watch somebody be soft or somebody be lazy. Not one fan, because they can see that if you're doing that. And so if there's one guy on our team that is soft and one guy on our team that is lazy, he's got to change that. He can't play for the Mountaineers. And our guys are good. They're conscientious. They understand that. But it's, again, their version of it, even my staff's version of it and mine, aren't exactly the same all the time. They probably think I'm crazy. I'm yelling at coaches because this is how it's supposed to look like. And until it's to that point, and even when it gets to that point, I'm going to keep harping on it.
I know you talked the other day about the 105, but is there room in this game today for the one-dimensional player, or is it versatility pretty valuable in your eye now?
Versatility is more important now than with the roster limit than ever before. I don't know if you said, like, it's going to have a bunch of Travis Hunters out there. He's a freak, but they're going to, these kids most of them played both ways in high school. Some of the harder was O-line, quarterback, you wouldn't, D-line, but tight ends, receivers, those positions, that's part of our looking. Not only we're looking at our current roster, we're looking at, in fact, today we get a couple of the defensive ends and out there running a few routes with them, see if they had hands like feet or they actually could catch the ball. So we're looking at all that.
I guess it carries over to special teams too, right? Your
Yeah,
safeties and linebackers.
that thing that our guys have a good attitude about that. I mean, again, I've probably told you my philosophy, special teams personnel wise, is maybe a little different. A lot of coaches say, they give you the old coach speak, put your best players on special teams, blah blah. I like putting like the backups on special teams because then they're a starter on a unit or two, and they take a lot of pride in it. Now, there's certain positions, like if you're a returner or you're just great on a kickoff or something, there's an exception with that. But, a lot of our special teams guys will be guys that are maybe second on the depth chart, but they're starter on a special team. So I've always liked doing it that way.
Have you found a returner yet? I mean, I know you've worked on it, but
Oh, yeah, I probably won't. I wish we could, I say wish, I guess I could go live with our punt return unit, but they don't have enough work. It would just be, he'd have to make 8 guys miss. You know what I mean? But they're catching the ball. We're not dropping them, so that's always a positive.
You came in here about 25 years ago and faced maybe a tougher situation or a similar situation, placing Don Nealon and having a whole different kind of players. How does this compare the two?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I was like, I know it was a different terminology, different system, and had lost. I can remember we had lost some pretty good players from the team that played in that bowl game. I think it was in Memphis. And so that was a hard spring. It was a harder spring than this spring, what I remember. And it was a bad season. It wasn't a good season. So it took a little longer. I think maybe with the transfer portal and be able to bring a handful of guys, like you said, that know the system, and probably a handful of coaches, more coaches that had been coached in our system. I mean, that was more, and there's more coaches, period. And frankly, I better be a hell of a lot better than I was then, too. I told the team, if I'm not a better coach than I was 25 years ago or 5 years ago or 5 days ago, then I've not doing what I asked my players to do, right? So I truly believe, in fact, Raquel was, I think there she is. Tony's not in here, but you guys remember we used to make the season highlight every year at the end of the year, and it's like replayed every game, and so I don't know where she found them. So it was like, boy, I looked really young, and I was like watching the thing, and like I can recognize some of the stuff, but I also remember like, geez, I could have been a heck of a lot smarter doing this or doing that. So anyway, I hope I've gotten better with maturity and years. But now that all coaches have so much help in personnel wise and stuff like that. But so anyway, to answer your question, I think I'm a little wiser. But there's different challenges too that we could fix our roster, but you can't lock down your roster. You know what I mean? It's like after the portal. I mean, here comes another portal thing. I mean, how ridiculous is that? There's another portal thing coming up in a couple of weeks, and then so it's harder to. You wait. Then you look at. I wasted all my time coaching this guy, getting him ready, and then he's getting a paycheck to go somewhere else. I hope that's not the case.
I mean, is this really your team, or is your team after the portal closes and you start in the summertime?
Oh, it was my team when the day I took the job.
Okay.
But then sometimes my team changes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's the day I was having my press conference over there with the fancy fire and all that kind of stuff, that became my team, and then.
You're going to get a new team, though.
Yeah,
in some ways.
it's evolving. That's
Yeah.
where things it's evolving. And that's where I think a lot of coaches are like, older guys, school guys, like they're like, oh, thing, and they just throw their hands up and say, I'm done. I look at it as, that's frustrating, but that's a good challenge, right? It's a challenge. It's a new challenge. So I better accept it as a new challenge and, try to win at it. That's why I don't. If everything else, I'll just tell you what I share with the team. We have to get more competitive, a competitive mindset. I mean, just not used to guys in any reps in practice. I'm not talking about individual, but reps in practice when you're going against another guy in a different color jersey. I'm not used to not being non-competitive in those reps. whether you're live or thud. It's just one-on-ones, whatever it is. I'm not saying it's the end of the world if you lose a rep, because everybody's going to lose a rep, but it ought to bother you a little bit. It ought to bother you as a coach. And I know it bothers coaches, but it bothers the hell out of me. I mean, it'll bother me till the next practice. I mean, and maybe I'm over, maybe old Dad can tell you, maybe I'm over the top competitive, whatever. But, man, I told the guys, I know they're all competitive. They play video games, right? Maybe that's why they were on TikTok. They wanted to compete to see who was the best dancer in tights. I don't know. Maybe that was the reason why they did it. You know, if that was the case, okay. But I don't believe that. But, golly.
105 and the things that you're talking about here, how much does that narrow a couple of roster slots for guys that you think, hey, they may not be ready to help us this year, but could help us next year?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's the frustrating part about it, particularly some of these younger guys that you could maybe see, hey, a year or two in a weight room with all the great stuff that we have here and our, strength coaches and stuff. Man, how many guys have you seen that, here over the years that freshman year, I don't know if he ever played. Then by the time his second or third year, man, they became really good players. And that development part of it is still important, but you have to make decisions like, because coaches got to win right now. I mean, I'm gonna sit in front of you all and tell our fans, well, this is going to be a developmental year, so if we started off like I did 25 years ago, Bob, they're going to be like, what? This guy's a bum. You know what I mean? So, we got to try to win right now. We're going to do all we can to win right now. That makes it hard. That's the hardest part for some of these young guys. Coaches are telling me, I think he's going to be okay. I'm like, you mean in 3 months or 3 years? You know what I mean? We've got to evaluate that part when we make decisions.
Similar to that, Coach, how do walk-ons fit into the equation with roster limits? And is there a future where walk-ons become extinct in college?
Well, they're trying to. That's the thing that ticks me off the most. You're basically going to cut 20 walk-ons. Here's a guy. I'm a former walk-on. I don't know. I might have got cut. I mean, I survived. Everybody was quitting in front of me, so I was climbing the depth chart. But it is hard. And the worst part is there's a lot of those guys are good players, are going to be productive and be able to help, and they're getting a West Virginia education and they're to play football for the Mountaineers. And because we got to cut the side roster, why don't we? I don't know. Well, I don't know. I know there's probably a financial piece to it, and some guys in suits are sitting around and saying it needs to be cut to 105. Why do you need? NFL only has 53 players, even though they can bring guys off the street, and and they all these whoever they are making this decision. But why wouldn't you okay, go to 115, and then next year 110, and then next year 105. So the guys that are current walk-ons or guys that are on that bubble, you got to, push them out, so to speak, and then try to find a place in June. You know what I mean? Somebody smarter than me, tell me a reason why you wouldn't do that. Like, go to 115, then go to 110, then go to 105. Is there a reason? I should have it ain't. I don't know if it's ADs. I don't know who's making it. It's NCAA people. Have they made any right decisions? I mean, really, have they? I remember, I admit they've made some good ones recently. I mean, I remember we could have bagels, but you couldn't give them the cream cheese to put on it. You know what I mean? They used to be the rule, I had an AD friend, I'll leave you with this. I had an AD friend this a few weeks ago. So I used to remember when a kid would come in to visit, say it's an unofficial visit or something, you couldn't go pick him up at the airport, right? You couldn't go get him and pick him up because it was against the rules back then. Now, hell, you just can leave him a car and here's the keys and say, take it. So, a little bit different dynamic.
Having a new basketball coach come in now, what's the biggest piece of advice you could give him, having been through it yourself, in a few places actually?
Yeah, I don't know him. I'm anxious to meet Ross, and then I know he's a winner. He's won wherever he's gone. I'll probably every place is a little bit unique. This place I know, because I obviously grew up here, played here, coached here twice, right, or 3 times. So I don't know if I'll just tell them, this is kind of some of the lay of the land of West Virginia athletics, the state of West Virginia. What the people. I think I can speak to what kind of people live in this state. Blue collar, hardworking, underdog mentality that can do anything, and just want people to give them kind of respect, that kind of deal. I think from what I understand, he'll already understand that and fit in greatly with us.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.